Today we are swimming through a swamp of family drama so thick, you're gonna need hip waders. We are talking about a hip-hop dynasty in turmoil, a brotherhood broken, a Migos meltdown of mythological proportions. In one corner you got Offset, the showman, the ad-lib king. In the other corner, his own flesh and blood, Quavo, the huncho, the melodic heart of the group. And caught right in the crossfire, the Icy Girl herself, Saweetie. So get your popcorn ready because we are about to dissect the alleged backstage brawl that went down at the Grammys, dig into the scandalous hookup rumors that set this whole thing off, and try to figure out if Cardi B is the only one left with a fire extinguisher trying to put out this dumpster fire. It's about to get wild. It's about to get messy. So let's jump right in. Alright, so let's start at the beginning of the end, shall we? To really get why this family is so fractured, we gotta take it back to the roots. Migos wasn't just a group, it was a family affair. You got Quavius Marshall, aka Quavo, Kirshnik Ball, aka Takeoff, who was Quavo's nephew, and Kiari Cephas, aka Offset, who was Quavo's cousin. These guys grew up together in Lawrenceville, Georgia, basically in the same house. They started rapping together back in 2008, originally calling themselves the Polo Club. They were grinding, making music in what they called the bando, an abandoned house where they would cook up beats and rhymes. They really started bubbling in the Atlanta scene around 2012 with their track Bando, which got the attention of legendary producer Zaytoven. But the whole world took notice in 2013 when they dropped Versace. That track was already a street anthem, but then the sixth god himself, Drake, hopped on the remix and it was a wrap. Suddenly Migos was everywhere. They had this unique triplet flow that everyone started copying, and they just had this infectious energy. Donald Glover even called them the Beatles of this generation at the Golden Globes. And that quote sent their single Bad and Bougie straight to #1. They were on top of the world, dropping hit after hit. Fight Night, Look at My Dab, Motorsport, the list goes on. They were a cultural phenomenon, but as we all know, with great success often comes great drama. For years they presented this united front, this unbreakable family bond, but cracks started to show. Fans with their eagle eyes started noticing things. In May 2022, the social media unfollowing began, the modern day declaration of war. Offset and Cardi B unfollowed Quavo and Takeoff on Instagram, and the internet went into a frenzy. Then Quavo and Takeoff announced they were dropping music as a duo, and Feud. They did interviews where they talked about it being a long-time dream and about getting back to the essence of their sound. They kinda downplayed the drama with Offset, but the message was clear. The trio was no more. In one interview, when asked about the future of Migos, Quavo cryptically said, "I just feel like we want to see our career as a duo." It was a polite way of saying, we're done with Offset. Offset, for his part, started focusing on his solo career, admitting that he felt his artistic growth was being stunted within the group. So what was the catalyst for this monumental split? Well, a lot of the whispers and the side eyes seem to point in one direction, and her name is Saweetie. Now, let's talk about Quavo and Saweetie for a minute. These two were a certified power couple. Quavo slid into her DMs with a now iconic line, "You an icy girl, you need a glacier boy." And from there, it was a whirlwind romance. They were on magazine covers, dripping in diamonds, buying each other Bentleys for Christmas, the whole 9 yards. They were a vibe. But in March of 2021, Saweetie took to Twitter and dropped a bomb on the whole fairy tale. She tweeted, and I quote, "I'm single. I've endured too much betrayal and hurt behind the scenes for a false narrative to be circulating that degrades my character. Presents don't band-aid scars, and the love isn't real when the intimacy is given to other women." Given to other women. The implication was crystal clear. Quavo had cheated. And get this, she sent that tweet while she was in the makeup chair for a W magazine photo shoot. Talk about a boss move. She said in the interview, "I've learned that the world doesn't stop for anybody, and it's for sure not going to stop for me just because I got my heart broke." Quavo, of course, had his own response, tweeting, "I had love for you and disappointed you did all that. You are not the woman I thought you were. I wish you nothing but the best." But things took an even darker turn when that infamous elevator video surfaced, showing a physical altercation between them. It was a messy situation. Saweetie later said the incident happened a year prior and that they had moved past it, but there were too many other hurdles to overcome in their relationship. Now, this is where the tea gets absolutely scalding. Rumors started swirling, gaining traction online, a big betrayal. The street started whispering that she had hooked up with someone from Quavo's own circle, his own family, his cousin, Offset. I know, right? It's the kind of plot twist you see in a telenovela. Your own cousin with your ex-girlfriend, that's a different level of betrayal. Now, let me be clear, this has never been officially 100% confirmed by any of the parties involved. Cardi B has repeatedly called the rumors made-up fan fiction, but Saweetie has remained silent on the matter, which has only fueled the speculation. And then Quavo seemingly threw a whole can of gasoline on the fire. On the track Messy from his Unskimmed Feud album with Takeoff, he rapped, "Beefed my dog behind my back, but I ain't stressing. You wanted a gang, you should have just said it, we would have blessed it." The internet immediately went into detective mode, and the consensus was that my dog and the gang could only be referring to one person, Offset. This brings us to the Grammys in February 2023. This was supposed to be a night of healing, a night to honor the life and legacy of Takeoff, who was tragically killed just a few months prior in November 2022. The Grammys planned a tribute performance, and they reportedly wanted Offset to be a part of it. But according to sources, Quavo was having none of it. He allegedly refused to let Offset join him on stage, even physically blocking him from getting there. And that's when things allegedly exploded. Reports came out that the two of them got into a physical fight backstage and had to be pulled apart. Can you even imagine? The night you're supposed to be honoring your fallen brother and you're throwing hands with your other brother. The pain and the anger must have been just overflowing. Offset later went on Twitter and denied it, saying, "What the F look like fighting my brother, you niggas is crazy." But then the footage emerged. You can hear a woman who sounds an awful lot like Cardi B in the thick of it screaming, "Both of y'all wrong, both of y'all. This is not right." Then she goes on to say, "No, BH, shut the F up because you shouldn't have been talking." When Entertainment Tonight had the audacity to ask her about it on the red carpet, she gave a classic Cardi response. "The only thing I settled was my outfit, honey." She's a pro at deflection. You gotta give her that. But it was clear that something major had gone down. The death of Takeoff was a tragedy that shook the entire hip-hop community. He was known as the quiet, laid-back one, the glue that held them together. Many fans hoped that this immense loss would be the thing that brought Quavo and Offset back together. But the incident at the Grammys showed that the wounds were still raw, that the grief was maybe even amplifying the existing tensions. Now, let's talk about Cardi B's role in all of this. She has been in an impossible position. She's had to ride for her husband through his own public cheating scandals and controversies. She's a fighter and she's fiercely loyal. So when these rumors about Offset and Saweetie first surfaced, a lot of people expected her to come out swinging. But instead, for the most part, there was silence. And that silence was loud. It made people wonder if there was some truth to the rumors, if she was trying to handle things behind the scenes. That audio from the Grammys backstage shows a woman at her wit's end, trying to be the peacemaker between two warring family members. In the time since that explosive night, there have been some small signs of a thaw in the Cold War between Quavo and Offset. They were seen together on what would have been Takeoff's birthday, a hopeful sign for fans. They even reunited on stage at the 2023 BET Awards for a surprise Migos performance that had everyone in their feelings. More recently, Offset has said in interviews that he and Quavo are talking again, that they holler at each other every other week. He's also spoken about taking accountability for his past actions, saying, "I've accepted the actions I've done to cause certain situations to happen." Quavo also recently posted on his Instagram story about having a good convo with my bro at Offset. But Offset has also been clear that they don't owe the public a show of their reconciliation, saying, "We don't have to show you niggas smiles and faces, so stop doing that." At the end of the day, it ain't your business. Okay, let's really get into the nitty-gritty of my thoughts on this. This whole situation is just a tragedy wrapped in drama inside an enigma. It's a multi-layered mess of ego, hurt, and family ties that have been stretched to their breaking point. First off, the alleged fight at the Grammys. I mean, come on. During a tribute to Takeoff? That's just gut-wrenching. Grief does crazy things to people, I get that. But that was a moment that should have been about love, about honoring their brother's legacy together. For it to devolve into a physical altercation is just a testament to how deep this rift really is. It shows that the pain of Takeoff's loss is compounded by this pre-existing beef. It's like a pressure cooker of emotions that just finally exploded. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the Saweetie situation. If, and I'm saying if with all the emphasis I can muster, if Offset did hook up with Saweetie while she was with Quavo, that's a violation of the highest order. That's not just breaking bro code, that's detonating a nuclear bomb in the middle of your family. I can absolutely understand why Quavo would feel a type of way that would make him not even want to share the same air, let alone a stage with Offset. That's a wound that doesn't just heal with a simple apology. That's the kind of betrayal that can sever a bond for a lifetime. And then you have Cardi B. My girl is stuck between a rock and a hard place. You hear that audio from Backstage and you can just feel her exhaustion. She's not just a celebrity, she's a wife, a mother, and she's trying to hold her family together in the middle of a hurricane. I have to respect her for trying to be the voice of reason, even if it meant screaming at two grown men to get their act together. She's been through the ringer with Offset's infidelity in the past, so for her to stand by him through this while also trying to mend fences with Quavo shows a level of strength and loyalty that is honestly commendable. At the end of the day, I'm rooting for them to find peace. Not for a Migos reunion, not for the music, but for them as a family. They've been through so much together, from the bando to the top of the charts. They built an empire together, and they've suffered the most unimaginable loss together. Life is too short to hold on to that kind of anger. It's gonna take a lot of therapy, a lot of honest conversations, and a whole lot of forgiveness. But for Takeoff's sake, I truly hope they can find their way back to being brothers. The music industry is fickle, but family is supposed to be forever. And that, my beautiful people, is the piping hot tea on the Migos family feud. It's a story with more twists and turns than a season of Game of Thrones. What do you guys think? Do you believe the rumors about Offset and Saweetie? Is there any coming back from this for Quavo and Offset? And is Cardi B the unsung hero in all of this, just trying to keep the peace? I want to hear all of your opinions, theories, and hot takes down in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on another episode of Extra Hot Topic. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a solid and hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome to the family. Make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a drop of the tea. Until next time, stay messy, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next